During like the first half of the Resident Evil games, there was one man at the center of all of it, working behind the scenes, causing chaos, and trying to acquire world domination. This man was Albert Wesker, and he was trying to obtain this by using bioweapons, whether it was the T-Virus, Las Plagas, or Ouroboros. He was the franchise's greatest villain, and still is. And although there are other great villains like Lucas Baker, there'll never be one as memorable as Wesker. He died in the final fight of Resident Evil 5, with Chris Redfield finally getting revenge and properly ending Wesker's story arc. But could he still be alive? Is there a possibility that he's still alive? Well, there are two pretty big pieces of evidence that really points in that direction. Let's get into it. The first piece of evidence comes from the game Umbrella Corps. This was a pretty crappy Resident Evil multiplayer game. Never played it myself, but that's just what I've heard. When I've seen of it, yeah, it looks kind of like shit. But anyways, although it is strictly a multiplayer game, there is some story in it. Apparently, you play as some sort of Umbrella operative, and you go on missions to past locations of previous Resident Evil games. Every once in a while, your handler will briefly talk about the guy in charge. He says this guy is very intimidating, and that he fears for his life. He even said that at one point. You do also get to hear this guy talk, and it sounds like Wesker to a T. Like the voice, the diction, that the way that he talks, that has to be Wesker. There's no way it is not Wesker. Okay, this game also takes place right after Resident Evil 6, which would be like 4 years after his supposed death. And Capcom has said this game was canon to the main games. Now let's get to the second piece of evidence. This next piece of evidence comes from the Not a Hero DLC from Resident Evil 7. At the end of this DLC, Lucas Baker was trying to sell all of his data on Evelyn and the mold to an unknown third party, but failed to do so before Chris killed him. Seeing how Wesker was so involved in the bioweapons of the T-Virus, the Veronica T-Virus, Las Plagas, and Ouroboros, he would want this bioweapon as well. If he is alive, he could be this unknown third party. Also, work on the mold started in the year 2000, and the people who created it collaborated with the HCF, the paramilitary organization led by none other than the man himself, Albert Wesker, at that time. So he knew about it, and if he is alive, he would know about the mold and about Evelyn, and would want it, and would pay several pretty pennies to get it. Now, some things to remember. Firstly, Umbrella Corps was a very, very critically panned by everyone. So Capcom would be smart to drop everything they might have been planning from that game and distance themselves. Literally put like an ocean between them, because it was very, very hated. Secondly, the games have played with the idea of cloning before. So maybe there's just a Wesker clone out there. Maybe that explains Jake Mueller's existence. So I think if these two pieces of evidence are true and canon, I think it's more likely that it's a Wesker clone. Just because his death was very fitting and explosive and conclusive. But should he be reintroduced to the franchise? Should he be brought back in a future game? Like maybe the untitled Resident Evil 9 or something. Well, bringing him back in that game and somehow tying it back to Resident Evil 5 in a believable way would be really cool. And it would add a layer of emotions to Chris's character. Not to mention the initial reveal would be awesome. Even if he is just a clone, it would be awesome to see him back in a game, right? especially with the new like first-person style that they've gone in Resident Evil 7 and Village. Me personally, I would be down for it as long as he was the main villain and it was done correctly. Because I think if he hadn't died in Resident Evil 5 and was in like Resident Evil 6 and other games, his story arc might have ran stale. And his eventual death wouldn't have given you that feeling of he's finally dead, and it wouldn't have been as impactful either. I think his death was perfectly timed and executed to perfection. Bringing him back might tarnish his legacy as the best Resident Evil villain. Then again, it might cement it even more. What do y'all think? Is he still alive? Is there a clone out there? Or is he just dead? Let me know down in the comments. And while you're down there, please like and subscribe if you did enjoy, and hit the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos and other great stuff. Hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.